Hey, how's it going, fellow travelers? My name is Vic Shaper Cotter, and today I'd like to show you how exactly to pack for a flight that's more than 7 hours. Let's say, for example, you're traveling from New York to Europe, or you're going from New York to Asia. You know, going to Europe would be at least 6 or 7 hours or so, more if you're going to Eastern Europe or Southern Europe. And if you're going to Asia, I mean, just going to Tokyo from New York is 14 hours in itself direct. And forget about it if you're going to Australia, 21 hours at the minimum. So if you're going to be traveling for about 14, 15, 16 hours, it is so important to make sure that you are as healthy and as comfortable as possible. Seriously, you don't want to risk having deep vein thrombosis or pains and swelling in your legs, for example. That could lead to some types of health complications potentially. And last year, one of the travels that I have done was going from New York to Tokyo, from Tokyo to Sydney, from Sydney to Abu Dhabi, Abu Dhabi to Paris, and Paris to New York. And I have done 57 hours of flying last year in the span of around 3 weeks. So I made sure that I had packed and made myself as prepared as possible to do 57 hours of flight without going absolutely crazy. And 2 of those flights were 14 plus hours. So the first thing that you want to remember is, of course, your passport. If you're going to be going abroad, if you're going to be going on a 6-hour flight, you're probably going to be leaving the country, unless you live in Russia, for example. I think to go from Moscow to Vladivostok all the way to the east end is 9 hours. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, absolutely make sure you have your passport, otherwise you're not getting into any country at all. Number 2. Wallet. We'll start off with the obvious. Number 3. If you have any medicines, absolutely remember to bring those and to put them in your carry-on and not in your suitcase. About a couple of years ago, when I was flying from New York to Prague, I had a layover in Amsterdam, and during that layover there was a terrible blizzard and all of the flights out of Amsterdam Schiphol Airport were cancelled until the next morning. So I had to stay in a hotel for about 30 hours or something like that. I was completely stranded. So in case something like that happens, whether there's bad weather or if there's some type of a mechanical issue on the plane or something like that, some type of thing that is out of your control that has delayed you, make sure that you please bring any medicines that you have in your carry-on. Super important to remember that. Also, continuing with the obvious, your cell phone and its charger. And with your cell phone, what I do is I have a Powerbank to make sure that I could charge my cell phone whenever, you know, I'm using it in the airport or in the airplane. You know, there's a big possibility that your airplane might have crappy Wi-Fi, honestly. So make sure that you keep your cell phone charged, you know, in case of emergencies was to arise and you need a phone to call somebody, you know, obvious things like that. But the one that I have is an Anker power bank. It can actually charge my phone about 10 times, and I think it is completely overkill, but if I'm going to be hiking abroad or something like that, or if I'm away from a power outlet for more than a day, then I bring this just in case. Also, if you're going abroad and on a long flight, make sure you also bring these things, power adapters. I always have 1 or 2 in my suitcase so that this way I can plug my laptop in. I can plug my laptop into the adapter and I can just plug in and charge on my laptop in the airport or wherever I'm traveling to. Yeah, and more stuff to bring on the plane. I also suggest some earplugs and Eyeshades. There used to be a time when all airlines used to give you complimentary eye shades in even economy class, and the last few times that I went on an airplane, They haven't really done that when going transatlantically, so I ended up just buying my own eye mask. It's just so much better quality, honestly, than the ones that you get. It's a little bit more sturdy, and it keeps the darkness out, especially if you are taking a day flight and you're tired and you want to get some shut-eye and take a nap, or if somebody, you know, if it's a night flight and somebody has their reading light on next to you. This has saved my life a lot of times, making my trip so much more comfortable. Eye mask. And only if you are taking a night flight do I suggest you bring a sleep aid. One I use is a little bit more natural. It's called melatonin. So if you're like me and you can't fall asleep on airplanes to save your life, then definitely look for some melatonin. It will definitely help you out. Helps me out. If I'm having problems falling asleep, it does the job. And also, in case that you are stranded abroad for a day or so, if there's some type of a weather issue, like I said, like what happened to me in Amsterdam, I was very thankful that I brought some toothpaste, and it's wrapped right now, and a toothbrush. So these things, you know, I would have been smelling really, really, really funky by the time I arrived in Prague if I did not pack a couple of these. So I always have this in my carry-on, along with always having my power adapter and my Eyeshades and my earplugs. Many people don't bring these. I highly recommend that you actually take some hygienic products, so this way, because when you arrive in that country, wherever you're going to smell pretty funky. And also with keeping fresh, I also bring some deodorant wipes. I use Dove Men. And I'm very happy that I brought them on a trip when I was going from Australia to Abu Dhabi, because by the time I arrived at that hotel, even beforehand, when I arrived at the airport, I was feeling pretty funky, honestly, on a 14.5-hour flight, which I could not get any sleep to save my life. I'm very happy that I bought these. It kept me, you know, not from stinking everybody else in the hotel out. Also, really critical thing, headphones. So important. I personally think that the in-ear headphones drown out more noise than those very, very expensive $300-400 Bose headphones. I don't know why people, you know, spend so much money on those types of headphones, the ones that go over your ear, because the ones that go straight directly into your ear blocks out so much other noise anyway. At least the ones that I have, my Sony in-ear buds, for a fraction of the price. Also, another thing is a really good quality neck pillow. This one in particular, I really like because it goes completely around the neck, so that this way, if your neck droops forward, it's comfortable still. Your neck is still supported. And it works side to back. But typically, whenever you're, you know, in economy class or something like that, especially if you're in an aisle seat, you can't really, you know. When I'm in an economy seat, I tend to just, you know, fall asleep like this, just with my head forward, and it prevents me from, you know, sleeping like this, from tilting my head forward completely. Or if you're sleeping on your side, if you're against the window, it could fold in half, and you can also use it for your side as well. Also, for those traveling in economy, this is my butt cushion. It is memory foam. It supports the coccyx bone in your it supports your tailbone, and if that bone in your butt is on a hard seat for about 14 hours, you're going to be feeling it, and it is going to hurt. I took this bad boy on a 14-hour flight from New York to Tokyo, and this was such a godsend. So the name of this one is Pigio, Pigio. I'll give a link in the description, but this is highly recommended, and I just don't understand why more people don't bring memory cushions for their butts on these trans-Pacific journeys. I just don't understand. People don't want to respect their butt. It's beyond me. Also, one more thing before I forget, bring hand sanitizer as well. The majority of the germs that you're going to be touching on the airplane are going to be coming from the seat tray that's in front of you, and also on the hand rests. Yeah, definitely bring hand sanitizer. Highly recommend that. Just clean all of the surfaces in your immediate vicinity and just let your inner germaphobe just have a blast. So with comfort, I like to bring loose-fitting clothes, especially my pajama bottoms. Typically what I would do is before my flight is going to be boarding, I go straight into the bathroom and I change into these, my pajama pants, and then I board the plane and I'm ready to fall asleep for 6, 7 hours. And right before the plane lands, after we have the arrival breakfast, I change into my pants and then I'm ready to set and go and continue my business. And with the pants, I actually like to bring these travel socks. These are thinner and more breathable than my regular socks. I just find this a heck of a lot more comfortable. Some people prefer to bring compression socks in order to combat the deep vein thrombosis. And if you are at risk at that, if you are an older person, that I recommend. For me personally, I think those are much too tight for me, and that caused more discomfort than it helped. So with these travel socks that I got for free on Oman Air, these have been great. And for the entertainment aspect, one thing that I like to do is I like to bring my cell phone also, just to play Sudoku, for example, or any type of puzzle games that you have, such as Candy Crush, for example. I mean, I don't play Candy Crush, I'm not into that. Types of brain games, Sudoku, and any other types of those apps, Blackjack, Ken Solitaire. Good quality cell phone games, I think, makes the time pass by so much faster on the plane. And on the topic of cell phones, definitely make sure you download Netflix or on your cell phone, so this way you can download movies that you can watch on your device, or make sure you download books offline. I typically use the Kindle App and I can get done with some reading, for example, especially reading about the local language and the local cultures of the destination country that you're going to, for example. With games, I also invested in one of these. It is a Bluetooth controller for smartphones. Basically, the phone goes on top of here, on this clamp. I actually did something pretty cool. I hacked my cell phone to play old PlayStation 1 games and Sega Genesis games. For example, I have Crash Bandicoot, I have Sonic the Hedgehog on here, and I can just go on this thing for hours and hours on a regular flight, and it wouldn't bother me at all. And it also lasts for about 11 hours as well, so if you are going on an Asia flight, for example, then probably bring an adapter or something like that, so this way you could charge the thing and leave it charged. Otherwise, if you're going to Europe, I think you'll be okay. And also one more thing, next time that I travel, I'm going to bring this, the Saline Nasal Spray. One time when I was in a flight, that same flight that I was talking about when I was going from Sydney to Abu Dhabi, I was in an Airbus A380, and the plane's air was so dry, my nasal passages just were killing me. My nose was so dry, I was having difficulty breathing, and now I remember why I didn't sleep that well. Anyway, but if you are in the airplane with with sensitive nasal passages that get dry easily, make sure you get some Saline Nasal Spray and put one pump in each nostril every 3 hours or so, and you'll be so much more comfortable. I think that's pretty much it. Those are all of the things that I put in my carry-on and I bring with me every time I go abroad. The next time I'm going to be traveling, I'm doing a trip to Prague in December for 8 days, and then after that, I'm going to be going to Tokyo and to Kyoto for 8 days in March for the Cherry Blossom Week. And if you pack like me, you're pretty much all set.